Today, we are doing a 2-round 2026 NFL mock draft. Below my face is my board. It is all the players I've scouted in all 22. If you see a star next to their name, that means that it is an outdated grade, and those players are probably going to be taking a fall. But if you guys want to see the full list of about 300 players, as well as doing a breakdown on every single one of them, as well as seeing extended versions of the videos and some exclusive content, go over to Patreon, $5 a month, and a great community over there. I appreciate how fast it's grown. I love you guys for that. Let's get right into this, and a quick word from our sponsor. Once again, I have partnered up with DraftKings Sportsbooks to bring you guys an incredible offer. New customers bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Just make sure to use my code HMS when signing up. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games as they happen. This is a quick look at DraftKings Sportsbook's website. It has a variety of options for a variety of people. If you are living in a state that is not yet legal for sportsbooks, do not worry. DraftKings still has you covered with their daily fantasy option. I live in the state of Texas where sports betting is not yet legal, so I will be partaking on this side as well. Make sure to use the code HMS when signing up, and a huge thank you to DraftKings once again for sponsoring this episode. Starting out with the number 1 pick. We have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to be doing this very uniquely in terms of how I have a trades mock draft and I have a non-trades mock draft every single week. The 2-rounder is no trades. It's one video. And the 3-rounder is going to be a 2-video series that is always a trade mock draft. But for this, I'm keeping it to the way PFF has it draft order-wise. And for the trades mock drafts going forward, until we actually get more of a solid foundation of, the records, we're going to be doing Super Bowl odds. That way, it's not going to be too much of the same exact picks, even if we can throw some trades in there to spice it up. It's just going to keep it a lot more fresh, and I hope you guys enjoy that. But number 1 overall, Cleveland Browns. Quarterback definitely is on the mind. We've talked about Lenore Sellers a billion times, and Lenore still has so much to work up here. And, he's just a freak talent. Nussmeier has done a good job of developing in terms of that layered passing. Nussmeier has jumped up noticeably on my board, so those of y'all who are over on the Patreon, you can feel free to go check that out before people here actually get to take a peek. But, Arch Manning not going to be included in this. It is a really tough top of the draft for quarterback, and especially with no trades, you have to go after the best talent available. And one of the talents that the Browns don't have is someone who's 243 pounds and unbelievable as an athlete, impossible to take down, and has a rocket arm. Even if you end up like Rockman Shadur Sanders next year, Lenore Sellers could absolutely provide really good value. And what's insane to me is the fact that, we get caught up in the mental side of the game. And yes, Justin Fields is a perfect example of the quarterback that, not necessarily developed properly as a passer, even though he has his moments. I would just say, as the quarterback side of things, he's still definitely more run focused. And then even when he was a passer doing well for my Steelers in week 1 against the Steelers, a little bit more conservative than, what he should do, what we saw at Ohio State. But for Lenoris, I think the decision-making is there. The timing is still being worked out. It's the finer details of the game, but Lenoris is somebody that provides a unique skill set that you can't find. And if you're going to take a quarterback at number 1 and you have the ability to ease him into the NFL, that's the best way to do it. There's not really an edge rusher that's worth a number 1 yet. There's not. Safety is just impossible to say you're going to be worth a number 1 pick. It's very, very tough at the moment, but it is just kind of that draft class. 2027 looks a lot better. I know every single year we're like, oh, the next year's class. But there's a chance Arch should return. Dude looks like he needs to get healthy. That's the first thing. That shoulder needs to get healthy. But Lenoris might return. And then obviously you have an influx of talent in the next year that is outside of just the quarterback position that is super special. But at number 2 for the New Orleans Saints, we'll see if Spencer Rattler ends up truly developing, because he's doing a really good job so far. I don't know, the Saints overall as a team definitely are a little bit worse than I think the record makes you think. It's number 2 overall, but I would end up saying that we're putting it too much in terms of, the quarterback can upgrade it. That's where I'm trying to focus this conversation. But I don't like being boring. I don't like being bland. it's just when you see something that makes too much sense, you have to rock with it. So Saints fans, this is why I say stick to pick number 34. When your father is the offensive coordinator on a team and you're making big strides and are loved by NFL scouts, it's just what's bound to happen. Garrett Nussmeier going to the Saints and pairing back up with his father. But again, I was much lower on Nussmeier coming into the year. I think his ability to throw with anticipation, the layered passes he throws, like there's just some traits similar to Lenore Sellers that is almost impossible to find with on a like player by player basis. Like there are special traits that are not just easily copy paste between players. That layered passing is one of the most special that I've seen. Like legitimately, he can end up putting a ball perfectly over a defender and then in front of another one. So I really do love that about him. My comp for him right now is Brock Purdy. Brock had 15 pounds on him, but same height, and again some of the similar like positives and negatives to their games. Number 3, we have the New York Giants, and Caleb Downs is starting to become the intriguing option for me. I'm always like 100% in on Spencer Fano, and I still am. Some people believe that Spencer Fano has sub 33-inch arms. That is a little bit of a concern, but at the same time, I mean, like, let's look at him this year. He still has yet to let up a pressure. Again, I mean, week 1, it's versus UCLA. So that is definitely a team that does pump out some sort of defensive talent, whether it be NFL or not, different question, but definitely still a competitive match. The past 2 weeks, Cal Poly as well as Wyoming, going to be a little bit less competitive. But Spencer Fano, I do think still should be the option here, and we'll just end up locking him in. It's never a bad idea to go O-line and just continue to make your team better and better. So we're going to be happily taking him there at number 3. Number 4, we have the New York Jets. And Justin ended up looking good week 1. Maybe it's just the Steelers defense. So we're going to be going after quarterback here as well. We went Lenoris and Garrett at 1 and 2. We are going to look at Drew Aller and Fernando Mendoza here at number 4. I've gone after Drew Aller way too many times for the Jets to where I want to change it up a little bit. Mendoza's been doing a fantastic job, so I'm going to be giving him the credit. Granted, has he played anybody? No, but he's gotten better week after week. And on top of that, I mean, we're talking about him putting up stellar performances as he should. But again, kind of proof of concept. He's going to a new system, new coaching, new receivers, and he's getting better and better and better. We'll see if that trend continues against some actually talented teams. But again, we can only work with what we have, and we have 3 weeks of sample size of Fernando Mendoza making really good highlight reel plays week after week. Number 5 for the Titans, I'm used to going Caleb Downs just because I like to utilize him as a Swiss Army knife. But you guys made a really good point at the fact that Kevin Winston should be getting healthy, the Amani Hooker extension. There's just not the role for Caleb Downs to make the impact that he should. And I respect that. Round 2, I do think I'm going to change it up because normally I'm like, oh, I'm going to go Jordan Tyson here. Love Jordan Tyson. Huge fan of him. Like, I do have someone who knows Jordan, so we're going to try and try to get Jordan on the show. It's going to be very, very difficult. But regardless, I'm going to go back to my old but gold move here. I'm going to go Ruben Bain. I think he deserves to be a top 5 pick. This guy has been unstoppable all year long. I mean, first off, I don't even give a shit about PFF grades that much. It's good as a baseline, but I mean, posting 90 pluses is very, very difficult. Doing it 3 weeks in a row, I have not seen that, at least in a long time. This guy is borderline unstoppable. I mean, technically, if we wanted to, I ended up saying an edge isn't really worth number 1. Ruben definitely is somebody who I could see being that surprise pick there by the Browns. Just going to put that out there. Number 6 for the Panthers, we're going to go after best player available, Caleb Downs, safety out of the Ohio State University. Number 7 for the Dolphins, you guys need a lot. That's the sad thing. You guys need a lot. Because quarterback is the easy answer here. But Tua with the money and everything, I mean, let's try to build like something for the future. And tight end just is not it either. There's just too many issues on this team in order for me to feel comfortable doing that. I honestly might just go Peter Woods here. He's one of the safest players on the board. I don't understand, I don't really trust the run stop rate that much. I do think that Peter Woods is on a little bit of a down year, but teams understand what they're going up against when they face Clemson, and they know that Peter Woods is the guy to key in on. So I would say that Peter Woods needs to be a bit more consistent to earn that right. You know what? There's a player who's been playing like a top 10 player, and he was my corner 1 coming into the year, and this team needs it. Top tier corners are not easy to come by. And I think this team is really missing Jalen Ramsey right now. I'm talking about Mansour Delane here, cornerback one for me out of LSU. One of my favorite players in terms of the transition from Virginia Tech to LSU. I was not a fan of him at Virginia Tech. Loved the idea of him transferring to LSU, and he ended up becoming my number one corner before the season started, and he's staying there. He's done a fantastic job. Him and Keith Abney are tied for one, but they're completely different skill sets. I think Mansour Delane, though, is on a hot streak, and so we are going to be selecting him at number 7. At number 8 for the Las Vegas Raiders, Peter Woods is going to be the easy shoe-in option here. I would toss another name into the mix, and that is Keith Abney or Mansour Delane. Either way, you guys are getting fantastic talents, and again, Abney getting better and better as the week goes on. He is an elite man coverage guy for me, but definitely somebody that will be continuing to rise up boards as people become aware of him. I don't know what the hell PFF's smoking by putting him at 144, but I know a lot of people who I trust who also have pretty good eyes on corners who have Abney extremely high, but I will be going Peter Woods here. I mean, your defensive interior is kind of garbo. I'll just put it there. Jacorian Bennett got traded for Thomas Booker. That's kind of how desperate it seemed. At number 9, we have the Chicago Bears. Now, interesting situation. Obviously, the Bears are supposed to be making a playoff push. There's definitely some big question marks about what the heck's going on right now after that loss to Detroit. Definitely not the position that you want to be. But one of the dark horse positions for the Bears, especially after Johnson getting hurt, is going to be corner. And we've seen a big rise in terms of some of these cornerbacks here, but I want to give some love to a player who I ended up probably mentioning earlier because I'm actually restarting this portion of the video because you guys actually gave me some really good feedback that, I ended up checking myself on. I ended up getting a couple picks down the line, and I'm like, not really a fan of that because it doesn't line up logically. Now, if you guys do have criticism, by all means, please end up telling me. I want to make a mistake once, and that's it. So please end up doing that. But the players I'm looking at right now is Keith Abney II. He is my tied corner 1 right now. I came into the year with Mansour Delane at 1, and then Keith Abney I ended up studying most recently, and he ended up really, really surprising me. Extremely, extremely strong, very sticky in man coverage, still developing in zone, but still has really good high IQ. So, just kind of the complete package. And now I know that cornerback this high just kind of hasn't been that big of a thing, but Keith Abney has been really, really solid. And analysts that I respect and I understand have a really good eye for talent, they're all in on Keith Abney. Now everyone's kind of in on Mansour Delane. So buy in now. Keith Abney going to be the selection there at number 9. At number 10 for the Indianapolis Colts, it's a very tough situation because, deep down it's we can just go Drew Aller. You can talk about Mateer. I mean, I hope they end up having him in here. Do they have the Oregon quarterback? Son of a biscuit, dude. What's up with PFF, man? I mean, I got to be honest. They have some embarrassing misses. I mean, not having Dante Moore in here because I'm going to be taking him in this mock draft. That is really embarrassing. But for the Colts, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. I think you have a great wide receiver core. Tyler Warren has revamped your tight end system. Running back wise, you're not taking one this high, and there's nothing that's worth it this high. Offensive line, I think you can end up working with what you have. I don't like the options available in terms of how it can upgrade the right tackle spot maybe, but defensive back wise, definitely not going to be going after corner 3 at pick 10. That would be stupid. Leaving me with defensive interior and linebackers, the areas that I want to indulge myself in. And I'm going to go after Christian Miller here. Christian Miller is my favorite defensive interior in the class. Extremely underrated. People don't give him the love he deserves. And he was getting late first hype just because he was a Georgia defensive interior. But the more I watched him, the more I realized this guy has the potential to be unstoppable. So I'm going to be taking him there. It is a position I think the Colts need to focus on in terms of developing the future. Again, if you see something off, by all means, feel free to tell me. At number 11 for the Cleveland Browns, we've gone after Lenoris so far. Again, Lenoris is somebody who has those intangible traits that are just not replicable. You cannot find it on an average player-to-player basis. So at number 11, edge rusher is a dark horse position here, and you could talk about Parker, Falk, Overton. Bailey would 100% be on my radar. I will say Joe Tryon-Shoyinka the fact they signed him makes me open to the idea, since he is 250 pounds and 6'3", not really the build like Overton and Falk kind of are. Parker definitely in that range. But like at the same time, there's definitely other positions you can try to upgrade on this team. One of those being on the offensive line. And you got World here, you got Lamu, you got Tiernan. I think those are the kind of the top three at the moment for me. Like Proctor has been absolute garbage, like hot garbage. True pass set, pass blocking grade at below a 30. I'm not a huge believer in PFF grades on an average basis, but what I do know is that if it is in the extremes, like super high, super low, it's kind of indisputable. So like Caleb Lamu is going to be the guy who I think I'm going to go after here. I love Tiernan, but apparently Lamu actually has like 33.5-inch arms versus Tiernan, who has a little bit shorter at 32 and 3/4. So I'm going to be going after Lamu here for the Browns. Just continue to develop a really, really good offensive line talent. And even if he has to kick to the inside, you're getting yourself someone who should be starting for a very long time. At number 12 for the Los Angeles Rams, we have not taken anybody yet, but they have multiple picks. And of course, I'm just a huge fan of developing talent. That's just how I work. And I do think that there is some competition between now and your next pick to where I'd feel uncomfortable kind of just getting the sloppy seconds of that next pick versus for a team that's looking at corner, linebacker, even receiver to some degree. I feel very comfortable, seeing how the board falls and then addressing it appropriately for the Rams. So the guys I'm looking at right now is John Mateer, Drew Aller, and the dark horse in this all is Dante Moore. Again, PFF, please get your shit together. Like it is a little bit embarrassing that you do not have Oregon's starting quarterback. Like we're not talking about, you have Harvard starting quarterback in here. Like what are we doing? Genuinely. We have Tyler Van Dyke in here who isn't even playing for SMU. That it is what it is. All right. But I'm going to go after John Mateer. I do think he has the highest ceiling in the class in terms of mobility, arm strength, and just like the big plays, I think, are a little bit more consistent with the arm than Lenoris at the moment. Lenoris is just, he is the highest ceiling of talent. But in terms of like earlier on where Mateer is going to use his arm, I think that he really does compete with Lenoir Sellers. Still have issues with his playmaking, and I do think some of his stuff is very gimmicky, but we've kind of just seen a trend now in the NFL where you'll see guys go to Steichen. You'll see guys go to McVay. You'll see guys go to O'Connell, and they'll revive their careers like it's nothing. Like it honestly is fantastic. It's amazing to see, but it just looks, and it's kind of the case. Imagine you're taking a class and then you have a good teacher versus an okay teacher. Like you're just going to, let's just say phenomenal teacher versus an okay to mediocre one to maybe even worse than that. Like the growth you'll have, and this is just in a class. Let's not even talk about how the mental game of football with the physical aspect and all the other mechanics that can be worked on, like just purely simplistically development. It's just night and day. So, we're going to go after the best players to go to the best systems. Number 13 for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm always a sucker for going edge for them. They seem to prioritize larger edge rushers. You talk about Jadeveon Clowney, obviously, Marshawn Nealand, and, you're going 265 plus. So that's Overton, Falk, Parker, because I love David Bailey. I do want to get him in as soon as possible. And please, PFF, just update your guys' board. But regardless, it's another team that could be looking at running back. Right now, Javonte Williams is like the number 3 running back in PPR fantasy. Like that's actually nuts. Tight end would be kind of fun with Kenyon Sadiq. You guys know how much of a Kenyon Sadiq fan I am. And I think that you guys in general are going to be very excited with how maybe some of the next picks are going to go, because I'm going to try to change things up a little bit. But for the Cowboys, I really do feel like the talent at the moment just feels a little bit skewed towards, actually, George Pickens is, if I'm not mistaken, on a 1-year deal in terms of how much time he has left. I'm going to go after Jordan Tyson. Wide receiver 3 still is not figured out. And Jordan Tyson is really damn good. If you want to continue building for the future with this team, go after the best players available. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver at Arizona State, going to the Dallas Cowboys. At number 14 for the New England Patriots, this is where it gets exciting. I know this is not going to be a high priority for most people, but Kenyon Sadiq's up there with the top 5 talent in the class. And he is dynamic. He is nasty. And I don't think the Patriots have a young long-term option at tight end. We're going to go after Kenyon Sadiq here. Like, that's the curveball. We could go offensive line for them for sure, but I mean, I do think that going after unique skill sets, especially after seeing back-to-back years, Bowers and Warren being able to, really help the offense out, this definitely could be another stepping stone for the long haul, especially with the unique skill set that Sadiq has. At 15 for the Seahawks, based on the players available, I mean, there's some really good quarterbacks that are still here. Obviously, not the case for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I think you do have a 1-year buyout on Darnold. I don't know if you guys would want to exercise that since you do have Aller available, but I wish cornerback were still a little bit more like it would be a little bit better if they were more available. But I'm going to go after somebody who I really, really like, and that's David Bailey. And this is the whole entire reason I had to restart part of the videos because I took him to the Bears. That's how good I think he is. I wanted to take him in the top 10, but the Bears just don't value guys who are 6'3". They're probably like 6'5" and above. That's just the Dennis Allen way. So we're going to go after David Bailey here. Again, feel free to correct me if, there's definitely something you say like, oh, McDonald has never gone after someone who's 6'3". By all means, let me know about that. I try my best to understand as much as I can, and you guys have helped me a ton through the journey. But, for me, I know that flexibility is a big thing for Mike McDonald. And, David Bailey has played pretty much quasi-outside linebacker as well as developing and growing into his edge frame, and now is just absolutely dominating. Well worth the top 15 pick. At number 16 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we are going to be going after a QB here. The draft's in Pittsburgh. The quarterback talent is available. It'd be between Drew Aller and Dante Moore, and of course, we're going to go after the Penn State kid and Drew Aller. At 17 for the Minnesota Vikings, we'll see how their season continues to shake out. JJ, with the high ankle sprain, also just, he is getting a little bit glazed right now, and it's kind of been the way he has. But again, dude has great charisma, great leadership. Wide receiver is a dark horse pick here. With Jordan Addison's off-field issues, definitely getting more and more help to your quarterback is not a bad idea. You have amazing talent here like Nick Harbor, Chris Bell, Antonio Williams, Carnell Tate, Denzel Boston, Makai Lemon. Just to name a few, let's talk about Casey Concepcion. I mean, somebody who I ended up regrading. He is sitting there at number 22, will be number 21 on my board. So I'll give you guys a little peek. Spoiler alert, by the way. But you guys get to see some of my wins, some of my losses there. It is what it is. But Concepcion is going to be dynamic. I mean, very exciting to see him go to a team that could stretch the field a bit. But that's definitely one of the dark horse positions. Cornerback, very apparent. I mean, you have Avion Terrell here, who's a really, really good player. And, I mean, this is based on how they ended up going after Isaiah Rodgers. Fits exactly what they're looking for. I mean, he did allow a touchdown. It was week 1 versus Trades Green. It's a big tight end. But Avion Terrell is really balanced. He's also extremely physical. I do think he is the best fit here for the Vikings. Now, you can argue Caleb Banks being able to get the size makes sense. He played his first game, I will say, did not have much to show for it. So, not a fan of that. But I will be going after the player that I think is going to be best for them, and that is Avion Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. At number 18 for the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, I do think that you could talk about weaponry. It's something that we'll be doing probably in the first 2 picks, but maybe if the draft is deep enough, we can end up talking about it at a different one. Linebacker is the dark horse position here as well. Once again, PFF, please end up getting some guys in here that are just not listed. It is a little bit frustrating when you want to talk about Arvell Reese and you can't talk about him. Like, it is a little bit annoying. And I know that we could end up switching to a new mock draft simulator. I paid for this. I think it looks great and it provides consistency. Granted, it does push my patience a bit. Now, looking at offensive linemen, it is tough because I do think that's the best way they can go about it is just continue developing the offensive line. The talent just is not there. So, it's not an easy one. We're going to go after wide receiver here, and we're going to go after Makai Lemon. I mean, he is that guy who, to me, he is pretty much a wide receiver 2, tied with Chris Bell, and his skill set complements what you guys have right now, who has Makai does have some return skills because after the catch, I think this guy is really solid, but changes directions on a dime. You can talk about Casey Concepcion here if you really want to, because he is in this range and somebody who has been ridiculously solid there for Texas A&M. Like insanely solid. So good, in fact, that I think Marcel Reed is ass. Like genuinely, Casey Concepcion should have 400 yards and 5 touchdowns right now. He should. He easily should. There are so many plays that he ended up bailing Marcel Reese out on. You know what? Because he has that returning ability as well, and I know the Cardinals are going to be looking at that, I'm going to go Casey Concepcion. I'm going to be raising him up big time in the draft. And number 19 for the Denver Broncos. That's kind of hitting me now. I'm like, I really have kind of switched full 180 on KC because I was a huge fan of KC when he was a true freshman. And just last year kind of was a kick in the balls. But for the Broncos, I'm going to look at interior offensive line here. And there's a lot of very good talent. Like, obviously, I'm a huge fan of Tomas Remak. They're just using him as a tackle, and that's why I have him, like, designated to fall. But, like, interior offensive line is certainly one that I think is worth taking a shot on. And I'm going to go after the best guard available. Now, you could talk about Tiernan being a guard, but I'm actually going to be a little bit more crazy here. I love Kobe Baines. I'm going to go after something more realistic. And Francis Cece Mauigoa. Tackle out of Miami, but I think should be a guard convert in the NFL. So I'm going to be using him as, basically somebody for the long haul. If you do end up having injuries to tackle as well, I do think he can fill in, but I just don't really trust him as a tackle for the long haul. Number 20 for the Houston Texans. I do think that they are not going to end up here at the 20 spot, but conversation for another day. I do think that you should end up taking a shot on another offensive lineman. I'm going to go after the safest one. Well, I mean, if you look at, you guys do care about measurables, that's going to be more of the Isaiah World realm. And he also has experience at right tackle. So if you guys do not have much luck with Ursary, I think you'll have some luck with World. So we're going to go after that. And number 21 for the Los Angeles Chargers. So many good players here. I'm running this one to the podium, though. It is Will Ferrin, kicker out of BYU. No, it's going to be Keldrick Falk, edge rusher out of Auburn. He's somebody who's been very, very consistent this year, just reliable. And the thing is, you're just going to get early down production out of this guy with untapped potential as a true third down pass rusher. At 22 for the Commanders, I've been crying for them to go after edge rusher, and they've ignored it. It pays off. You go between TJ Parker and LT Overton. TJ has been extremely inconsistent this year, but I mean, I think he's on the up. LT Overton is very similar in that same realm, but I think LT is just a better player overall. So we're going to go after LT Overton, edge rusher out of Alabama. At number 23 for the Cincinnati Bengals, honestly, a very similar situation. If I went TJ Parker at the last pick, I'd run LT Overton to the podium. Cornerback definitely is on the mind. Jermon McCoy just hasn't played because of that torn ACL. So I just don't think he'd go in the first round. That's just, but you guys have to get offensive line. I mean, Joe Burrow is still getting killed out there. And thinking about it, a left tackle situation, you could upgrade it with Caleb Tiernan off the bat. Now, you could also just put Tiernan at guard if you really need to. It's going to be weird to have a 6'8" guard, but it has been done. So I'm actually going to go best player available. Fuck it. Caleb Tiernan has played in a North environment there at Northwestern, so it's not like you're going to be seeing some SoCal kid being facing, the tough climates for the first time. This guy's battle hardened, coming off his best week, which is versus Oregon. Technically not by 0.1 points, whoop-de-doo, but an amazing outing versus Oregon with, I believe, a 90 pass blocking grade. Fantastic there. At number 24 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm just going to go TJ Parker here. I know that they usually go for a stand-up edge rusher, and TJ is not necessarily that, but the value is just so damn good that I just don't know if we can pass on it. So we're going to go after a player that Todd Bowles probably is like, I can't refuse. Number 25 for the Niners. I'm still fully in on offensive line here for him. Xavier Chaplin's the one who's the dark horse. Man, I will say, does get kind of ass, doesn't it? Kind of forgot about that. Does get a little bit ass here, but let's look at some other positions for the Niners. Not tackle. I'm so sorry because you guys ended up we're looking at a developmental left tackle here. We're not looking for the right. So Chaplin is available. I would want someone who could fill in short term on the interior, but maybe that's something that we should focus on in another round. Defensive interior is a dark horse here because you can go after Caleb Banks, who has 35-inch arms and just has all the potential in the world. Kind of reminds me of what the Niners just did with Mykel Williams. So honestly, not a bad idea. Let me know what you guys think of this. Caleb Banks going to the Niners at 25. Pairing him up with Alfred Collins, whew, young, dynamic duo, both who are just very, very tough to block. I'm going to sign up for that if I am on the Niners. And PFF, I know that I ripped one into you, but like, let's get the spinny wheel of death going. Like, how hard is it to draft Caleb Banks? Was it that bad of a decision? It was literally such a bad decision. That's giving me the spinny wheel of death. I'll cut this out and then we'll get to it. Just kidding. Well, there's an ad for you. The ad ended up probably just dropping in there, but Caleb Banks going at number 25. Number 26 for the Rams. We already took John Mateer there in the first. Love that for us. This is where you could try to take a shot on McCoy. Now, we could also try to go and develop one of these tackles at right tackle. Again, I just don't understand. I don't see the need for that. But for the Rams, honestly, another weapon is going to be super helpful here. And especially when, we're looking at the composition of the receiving core, and it definitely does not have enough size, or not enough size, not enough speed, in my opinion, outside of when Puka continues to churn and burn. I think Mekhi Lemon's going to provide a lot. Bottom line, Tutu Atwell, going to be gone, 1-year deal. Mekhi Lemon going to be the choice. 27, the Cowboys took a hot one with Jordan Tyson, round number 1. Now, edge rusher, I was really hoping that maybe one of the guys would slip to this point. Again, with no trades, you do run that risk. But I still think the defensive interior needs help, and big Dom Orange just makes sense to me. You end up pairing him up with Kenny Clark, who can honestly train him to be a successor down the line too, if you really want to think about it super long term. But Dom Orange is just going to provide some extra pass rushing foundation, and he's just such a good player. So we're going to go big citrus, Dom Orange out of Iowa State. And number 28 for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a team that definitely has underwhelmed, but I'm just going to run this to the podium. Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. He's just been underutilized overall. It's going to be very tough, especially I do worry about the medical side of things with him hurdling so much. I don't know how that's going to impact. I'm no doctor, but at the same time, I do have a logical concern over to whether, especially a position that is so intensive, labor intensive, especially physically, like the running back position, could end up being a red flag. At 29 for the Lions, this is also just one of those that you feel super comfortable with. Running Connor Lew to the podium, center out of Auburn, one of the best centers in the entire country. At number 30 for the Baltimore Ravens, boundary corner like Jermon McCoy is good value here. Could go Denzel Boston to provide some extra receiving firepower. It's kind of easy to just choose a good position for the Ravens. You could go interior offensive line here. A lot of very good players. Now, it's probably going to be my next pick. But if I'm going to be real, DJ McKinney's here, Jermod McCoy's here, I feel very comfortable with the idea of the Ravens just going best player available. And I think to a lot of people that is Jermod. Health is a concern. But at the same time, you just got to go with what's best. Edge rusher doesn't have the value. I've already soaked up all the defensive interior value outside of Lee Hunter. Lee Hunter would actually not be bad for the Ravens, but I want someone who could flex out at edge as well as Mike Green continues to grow and develop. That's just not what we have available here to us. I hate to say it. I love Pookie Bear Lawrence. My boy Malachi is sitting there in my top 5, but Malachi needs to end up playing some real teams too. He has over a 50% win rate at the moment. But, for the Ravens, honestly, they've operated so well in terms of the passing game. I'm going to rock it. We're just going to go after Jermod McCoy, potential top-end corner out of Tennessee. At number 31 for the Eagles, everyone is sold on the cornerback or the tight end or bust route. The problem is you have to get a tight end that's worth a first-round pick. I love Miles Kitselman. Does not have the production yet. Does not. Love him. Does not. Justin Jolly, no. Max Clare, no. He has 48 yards on the year, including a drop. Not a fan of that. So we're not going to go quarterback. Wide receiver 3 just seems to be something Howie sends a 5th-round pick for. Running back, no. So we can talk about the offensive line here, though. I do think we're at the point where you start debating, Caden Proctor's been absolute ass, so we're going to look at Xavier Chaplin. Is this a guy we can end up developing to be that right tackle of the future? Because he does have very similar traits in terms of a little bit the stiffer, heavier feet that we talked about, like Cam Williams and some of the other players you guys have brought on. It is somebody who I do think we should discuss. It would be a trade back target, ideally, but not something that I think ends up being the case. But I will say, cornerback going to be the way that I rock, and DJ McKinney probably going to be the way I go. AJ Harris he just lets up big plays when he ends up when he ends up losing, he loses in a very, very big way. I'm not a fan of that myself. So I'm actually going to be rocking here DJ McKinney, who I think has had, he ended up having a struggle week this past week, but I will say on average, DJ McKinney is one of the better corners in the country. I do love Damani Jackson, though. Damani's a little bit too man-specific. I will say DJ McKinney's a little bit more well-rounded. I'm going to go after DJ McKinney out of Colorado. 32 for the Buffalo Bills. We could end up going after a wide receiver here like Carnell Tate, super well-balanced. Chris Bell, Nick Harbor. There's just really good receiver talent everywhere. I will say I probably will soak them up, by number 64. So this is kind of like a do-or-die situation. Linebacker with Sonny Styles as well. Pretty good idea here. The answer is, which one do we want? I'm going to go after the linebacker because I do think linebacker will end up being depleted at a higher rate. So we're going to go Sonny Styles here. A lot of people love CJ Allen. I still think he's a little bit limited, and I think he's more of a thumper, not as translatable. Number 33 for the Cleveland Browns, Lenore Sellers, Caleb Lamu. You could go after more offensive line here because there are guys like Xavier Chaplin where if you want to move Lamu to inside, that'd be pretty stupid in my opinion. You draft a guy at number 10 and then you end up kicking him in for a second-round pick. Probably not the best idea. But again, edge rush, you could talk about Mateo Uiagalelei here. I'm not sold on him. That's where I'm just at. Like Joshua Josephs, if he ends up being heavier, then you could talk about it. But the guy he's just 240 pounds. That's the problem there. Shout out to Ben Bell. I think this guy is one of the most underrated players in the entire country. He's just really, really good. Akeem Mesidor is actually perfect for this team. First off, hello, 31.7% win rate. Second off, he's just so perfect. But again, I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about late day two. If we had a third round, I think I'm tossing Akeem Mesidor in at this point. He has done such a good job this year. Also, why the hell is Nijak Kelly in here, but not Pookie Bear Lawrence? This is collusion by all these people. But regardless, I do think wide receiver could end up being the position you do target. It just feels like a relatively weak wide receiver core. With Carnell Tate here, you just get someone who's really damn balanced, and that's going to be a very big plus. At number 34 for the New Orleans Saints, we're going to go after an edge rusher here, Danny Dennis Sutton. It's just the value's there. He is a fantastic edge rusher. It's just the way it works. Just going to keep this in mind. This is somebody that has continued to develop, has had some ups, some downs, ended up having a really hot start, and is going to be ending up having a little bit more of a down, but we're seeing him go back up. For the New York Giants at number 35, I do think wide receivers in the realm of possibility for them. And getting themselves a big contested catch target like Denzel Boston, who has return ability as well, is worth the risk. I'm going to go after Denzel Boston here at number 35. At number 36, we have the New York Jets. And end up going for Fernando Mendoza in the first round. Could have went Kate Klubnik here. I feel a lot better going after a quarterback I trust than one that I'm having some iffy feelings on. So if you're in the position to get a franchise quarterback, go and do it. I do think you need to get more firepower for your franchise quarterback. And Chris Bell is my wide receiver 2 in the entire draft. He is dynamic. He is special. Great after the catch. 6'2", 220. And at number 37, we have the Tennessee Titans. And we are going to be going after wide receiver here as well, because they need wide receiver. So we're seeing 4 wide receivers in the first 5 picks of the second round. But Nick Harbor is just special. 6'5", 235, dynamic super weapon. That will be amazing for, you have Eli Maynard there, but now you also end up having Nick Harbor in terms of that deep threat ability with a good size. Number 38 for the Carolina Panthers. Definitely a team that I think there's a lot of options for them. First round went Caleb Downs. Here at number 38, though, the option for me is going to be that linebacker route. And we're going to go Anthony Hill Jr. I think it's going to be a little bit more mesmerizing for them. He's going to be probably the most likely defensive piece especially the linebacker realm, to come off in this round. So we're going to go after Anthony Hill Jr. And I will let you guys know, I'm going to be editing this together with the mock draft that I was doing before. I ended up making a mistake and ended up letting a player fall too far. His name was Dennis Sutton. And yeah, so we're going to be cutting it together, but this is going to be the accurate current mock draft. 39 for the Dolphins went Mansour Delane in round number 1. You could go after some offensive line here. Just we'll see how the offensive line holds up. The defense has just been god awful though. Like to the point where it's like, do I just double up and go on the defensive side? I don't think I can, especially with guys like Antonio Williams here. We're going to continue the trend. We're going to go, what is it, 7 wide receivers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go 6 wide receivers in the first 7 picks. Antonio Williams, he's going to be a dynamic weapon that is going to continue that archetype because I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to be on this team anymore. I think there's going to be a full rebuild. Antonio Williams can play in the boundary, can play in the slot. I just like the flexibility and the versatility as long as he stays healthy. Could have went after quarterback there in retrospect as well. But I also think in round 2, it's just so rare like that you can end up getting Carson Beck in round 3. Just go after the player that's more worth it. Like Cade Klubnik really is showing that he is going to be that early third. Like I'd feel more comfortable, feel way more comfortable going after Beck or Dante Moore in that 3rd round. There's not enough teams that are going to be competing for QB. But for the Raiders, Peter Woods in the 1st, like here in the 2nd, dude, their offensive line needs to be way better. Like I don't know what the fuck's going on, but like shit needs to change. JPJ was a healthy scratch, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been injured. Please end up letting me know about Jackson Powers Johnson. But I mean, this team, I don't even understand where to start. Maybe corner though. We're gonna go AJ Harris here. The value's good. At number 41 for the Bears went Keith Abney in the 1st. That's gonna ruffle some feathers. We're gonna go after edge rusher here. Oh, ugh, my lord. Looking at my edge board, I of course love Malachi Lawrence. I'm not gonna be taking him here to this team. Looking at guys who have the right height for this team. I forgot to recolor Carnell Tate. But you know what? I don't really think it's going to work. But what I do think they can upgrade on, defensive interior. They could do left tackle as well. But I'm going to go after my next best player. And that's Lee Hunter here out of Texas Tech. Another player that is just so under the radar. But we're going to get a dynamic defensive interior here with Lee Hunter. At 42 for the Colts went Christian Miller in round number 1. This is where I'm going to bring in one of these quarterbacks to compete. Again, if you're going to be the Dolphins, going after someone like Ty Simpson, Sawyer Robertson, Carson Beck round 3, you have so many issues that the wider quarterback in round 2 is not going to be one of them. But for the Colts, I do think that getting a distributor is the right idea. I'm going to go crazy here and go after Carson Beck over Cade Klubnik. Carson Beck has done a really good job there re-elevating his game. He still has a lot of the special technical skills that made him an intriguing first-round option last year before he ended up falling apart. But, he's back, looks really good at Miami. I'll get to see him in person as well. Super excited for that. At 43 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, did not get a first pick, and that's okay because, like, Trav is going to end up being a big staple piece of this team. I do think with Dylan Thieneman having some rough outings, like, it sucks to see him slip a little bit, but definitely somebody who I love. Just haven't seen a team that I'm like fully sold on safety. The Bears, I probably should have, but we'll leave it as is. But for the Jaguars, I'm going to continue upgrading their firepower here because I do think Trav's going to continue to shift over. And Jeremy Bernard's the guy who I'm looking at. Just De'Ami Brown signed for a short-term contract. I do think that this is probably going to be, I do love offensive line for this team. I really do like offensive line, don't I? Honestly, the tackle situation's been ass. I'm going to take a shot on Xavier Chaplin at the moment. I'm just going to take a shot. He's 6 foot, what is he, 6'6", 6'7", 348. Dude's an absolute unit. At number 44 for the Falcons, literally Bijan took a snap that was not supposed to be a direct snap and took it as one. I'm going all day with Parker Brailsford and pairing him back up with his former quarterback there in Michael Penix. So they played together at Washington. I love the storyline. At number 45 for the Cowboys, Jordan Tyson, Dom Orange, and could go after Nick Singleton here all day. They've had so much success. I'm going to throw the dart at Dylan Thieneman. I think defensive back is one of the dark horse positions for the Cowboys. This is someone I usually take in the first round, and I think he probably should have went in the first round. Probably tomorrow will be in the first round, but again, it's just very tough to find teams that are looking for safeties that high. Dylan Thieneman going to be a steal there in round 2. 46, Patriots, Kenyon Sadiq, round 1. Here, round 2, you could talk about that right tackle spot again. Austin Barber had some experience there like 3 years ago, but it's not pretty. It's really not pretty, guys. So I'm going to end up opting to go and look at the defensive side, where I think you can continue to upgrade at linebacker or at edge rusher. And look at the linebacking core. Whit Weeks is one of the more underrated defensive linebackers. I don't understand. Oh, he ended up being ejected early in the game. That's why he has a 39 grade. But dude is just playing all phases of the game extremely well. I would say coverage is his worst aspect, but this is a player who I'm going to go and support here. We're going to go Whit Weeks, linebacker out of LSU. 47 for the Seahawks, went after David Bailey in round number 1. Here in round number 2, I think interior offensive line, very underrated, but cornerback as well. And I really like Domani Jackson out of Alabama. Obviously 0% completion percentage so far this year, but at the same time, I would just say they're kind of picking on Xavier Brown. But we're going to go after Domani Jackson, cornerback out of Alabama, there at 47. 48 for the Steelers, Drew Aller in the first. Here in the second, I still think we should be looking to upgrade our offensive tackle spot. You guys see how many teams need offensive line. And I'm just like, value's just not there. So weaponry-wise, I think we're comfortable. Cornerback, Malik Muhammad, going to be one of those players I could consider here. Davidson Igbinosin. How is Iggy doing stats-wise? 66 yards, 54% completion, two pass breakups. Honestly, not bad, but not going to be taken here this high. Malik Muhammad probably going to be taken in this realm, but he only has 1 PBU on the year and still ended up kind of getting cooked a little bit. So for the Steelers, let's look at some other positions. I really would have loved Dylan Thieneman here, but I will say a run-stopping linebacker, something that we don't really have at the moment. It's a little bit scary. Honestly, the Steelers are just in a weird spot. I might end up still going after offensive tackle if we end up finding somebody who I feel comfortable with. Like, Caden Green could end up playing guard or tackle for us. He's getting better every single week. And we'll see if it ends up coming to fruition. But you know what? I'm going to take Caden Green here. We're just going to get an absolute monster of an offensive lineman, and we're not going to put him to right tackle for once. But if he ends up having to be a guard, he ends up having to be a guard. I just feel the value of a high-end offensive lineman, whether he's a guard or a tackle. For the Steelers, it's just worth it at this point. It's good consistency. 49 for the Vikings, Avion Terrell in round number 1. Here in round number 2, let's see. I still like to go the nose route. And I'm going to go after a player that it's David Jackson or Tim Keenan. I like Tim Keenan a lot. When healthy, this guy's a beast. I know he hasn't played this year, but I mean, this guy's a guy who was in the first round for most people coming into the year. So we're going to keep him there. At number 50 for the Arizona Cardinals, went Casey Concepcion, round number 1. We're going to go after a top end linebacker here. And most people believe that CJ Allen is going to be like that first round grade linebacker. So realistically, I do think getting a thumper like him would be a really good asset. At 51 for the Broncos, went CeCe Marigo to play interior offensive lineman for them in the first round. I'm going to go and just continue upgrading the offense with Max Clare, weapon out of Ohio State. Has not produced enough, but everyone kind of knows the talent's there. We'll see if it ends up coming to fruition soon. Texans at 52. Just nothing's really going their way. We're going to go after Jonah Coleman here out of Washington. The dude dominated 2 weeks in a row, so we're going to give him a lot of love. At 53 for the Los Angeles Chargers, took Keldrick Falk in round number 1. We're going to be looking at the potential center room here. Jake Slaughter is the popular option. Iapani is another one, but I'm actually going to go after a different option and one that you guys can see on your board right now. I'm going to go after center Lyndon Cooper out of Pitt. Once again, just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, PFF? I don't want to give any respect to Fernando Carmona, but we're going to give respect to Davian Carter and give him an ADP boost. Really like him, but Davian Carter is going to be the placeholder for my number 13 player, which I do think might end up dropping a little bit, but will probably end up still being my top 32 player. Lyndon Cooper, center out of Pittsburgh. 54 for the Texans, Isaiah World, Jonah Coleman. Good group of players. I would say defensive interior would be the next spot I look at, but I think we just need to continue developing the offense. So Isaiah World, Jonah Coleman, I do think just doubling up right now might be the best way we can go about this. And I'm just going to get someone who is like an absolute monster, and that's Vega Ione. I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm just going to continue upgrading and upgrading and upgrading until there's too much going on, and then the upgrading stops. Caleb Tiernan goes to the Bengals in the first round. I'm going to be running to the podium with this one. Mateo Uyagole has the right frame, has the right measurables. It just makes a lot of sense. They like to take shots on high potential players. Cornerback is an issue for them as well, but with Trey Hendrickson leaving, they need to continue the pipeline. 56 for the Buccaneers, TJ Parker in round number 1. I'm actually going to go after a linebacker here in round number 2 with Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh. Really, really love him. He has he ended up allowing some yardage this past week on a screen play. That's why he ended up being kind of stocked down. But dude is so damn good. I mean, you can see him right now at number 20 on my board. Really love his game. 57 for the San Francisco 49ers took Caleb Banks in round number 1. This is where we're going to take the ceiling shot on Caden Proctor here in the second round. Has not been good, but if you put him with Trent Williams, I have a lot of faith. 58 for the Rams took John Micaiah Lemon in the first. We're going to look at the cornerback room here, and we're going to take the shot on Malik Muhammad out of Texas. Big physical corner, 6 foot to 190. Just somebody who you're just going to want to hit your wagon to and feel comfortable. Now, Green Bay, 59. I mean, you guys have done such a phenomenal job that I don't understand how the hell you're doing it, but you guys are making it happen with pretty much kind of like in certain areas of the field. Definitely a little bit more of an underwhelming crew. I'm going to go after a defensive interior here, though. We're going to go after Darrell Jackson. Get the plug. You lost Kenny Clark. We're going to get the plug with Darrell Jackson. Now that we are all caught up at number 60, remember, for those of y'all who are watching, we ended up adjusting, having Dennis Sutton go at number 34, and ended up having the small adjustment there to pushing the wide receivers down. So Nick Harbor essentially ended up being the number 37 pick, but let's continue on with the Chiefs at number 60. First pick, Jeremiah Love. Here, let's just double up with Nick Singleton at this point. Best player available. I'm going to go and develop their offensive line because I think there are guys who are worth throwing some darts at here that are just really, really good. And one of those is Josh Thompson. I can't sell myself on that. I was going to try to bullshit my way through it. Not going to do it. I do think edge rusher is the area they need to go after, which is the whole entire reason why I found out that I ended up not taking Dennis Sutton because, once again, PFF not updating their guys. But Mikhail Kamara is someone who I think is going to be one of these guys who's like a late 2, early 3. And this is a key trade back spot, but he's 6'1", 265. He is aggressive. I feel like he's more of a Spags guy than what people want to admit. 61 for the Detroit Lions went Connor Liu in round number 1. Here in round number 2, we could end up getting Nick Singleton and getting another really good option at running back for the long haul. It's a dark horse position, really. But, corner is an underrated position for him, a linebacker, but edge rusher as well. Edge rusher is not really talked about enough. I'm going to go after Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, 6'2", 250. I prefer someone a little bit bigger, but he's somebody who will end up making a big contribution. At 62 for the Baltimore Ravens, went Jermod McCoy in round 1. Let's stick to it in round number 2 and go after a player that, doesn't have the best size in the world at 240, but his 35-inch arms, 34 and 3/4. And he's been absolutely dynamite. We're going to go Joshua Josephs for the Ravens. At number 63 for the Eagles, went corner DJ McKinney in the first. Here in the second, I do think defensive interior or tight end would be the route that I would try to target. I'm a huge fan of Miles Kitselman here. He's a little bit on the older side, but he is a lot more stereotypically like Philadelphia Eagles tight end build, which is 6'5", 250 plus. Really, really good blocker. And, he is an incredible blocker. I'm going to put my foot down. We're going to give some Tennessee love. Josephs and Kitselman going back to back. And at 64 for the Buffalo Bills. It sucks to see Cade Klubnik not go in this, but it is what it is. Tough love ends up happening. Senny Styles went in the first round here in round number 2. I prefer to go after a receiving weapon. That's just how I rock. And, Jeremy Bernard's fun, but I'm actually going to go after a weapon that I ended up taking at number 37 before I had to alter it. And that is going to be one of my favorite players in the entire draft, my number 37 overall player, CJ Daniels out of Miami. We're going to use Vinny Anthony, the king, to boost his ADP here. But yeah, that is going to end up being my number 37 player, CJ Daniels out of Miami. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, a really intriguing one. Wanted to keep it a little fresh, a little bit new. But thank you guys for supporting the show as always. Love you. See you later.